hurt the sport of boxing? Because he definitely brought in massive numbers and massive eyeballs. But I feel like you're right. What you said, every single time people who don't really know Mayweather, who don't normally buy his pay-per-views, bought the expensive one, bought the big ones, they walked away disappointed.
That's a very, very, fair question and an astute question, quite frankly. The Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, before the first bell, for 3, 4, 5 months of promotion leading up to it, did nothing but help the sport. It was like a Rocky movie. Everybody wanted to be a boxer, and everybody was looking and talking about the fight, the water fountains, the boardrooms, the places where you never hear boxing. Everyone was talking about the fight, so it was good. It was great. The fight did damage to the sport because the outcome was not even close to what people were led to believe they might get by pouring out their money, at a level they never did before. 4.5 million people came out, set records for pay-per-view. So it hurt the sport because after that, the pay-per-view numbers were down, way down, and they continue to be down. The only thing that saves boxing right now is guys like Canelo with the great, great, passionate Latino base behind them, and that's the truth. Otherwise, the good, solid fights are not getting the pay-per-view numbers that they deserve to get. And a lot of it can be traced to that first Pacquiao-Mayweather fight where, they blew the horn at the top of the mountain. They told everyone to come. Everyone listened. Everybody came. And then they got disappointed. It was like being in the desert. The fight fans were dying for a good fight. Their tongue was hanging out. They were walking. There were no fights in the desert. And then all of a sudden they saw an oasis. And they ran to it. And when they got to it, they found out instead of an oasis, instead of water, they got sand in their mouth. And it's the same sort of situation here, except a little different. Buyer beware, because you're being warned. It's kind of like the cigarette label where it says, these could be bad for your health. You know what I mean? They could do damage. And so there is a warning out there that just like this radio show right now, there's plenty of warnings out there saying, hey, this guy's not a professional fighter now. It's an event. It's a Super Bowl type. It's a lot of ballyhoo, but, he's not a professional fighter. So people are being warned. And to your point, Floyd, to answer your question directly, Floyd's done more good for the sport than harm. That last fight hurt, but he's done more good because he has brought eyeballs to the sport. His undefeated record has been intrigue for a long time now, and it's made people watch him. Kind of like Ali back in the day when, like him or hate him, people watched. So that's good. That's healthy for the sport. But there's no doubt about it. Floyd takes the air out of the ball. Floyd doesn't make exciting fights. Floyd wins, but he wins on his terms. And usually not electrifying fights, boring fights, defensive-oriented fights. That's how he wins. So you got that on top of it. Besides that, you got a guy in there who is a pedestrian. I mean, he's not a pro when it comes to this sport. So you got that going against it. You got the fact that Floyd, at his best, is a defensive genius. He does not make scintillating fights. He does the opposite of that. And here's the real kicker. A lot of people don't know this. They're going to sell this saying that McGregor, is going to be he's going to be a cyclone. McGregor is going to be a heat-seeking missile. But his temperament is closer to Floyd's than it is to those things we just described. Because I've watched a couple of his bigger fights where he scored those sensational knockouts, and they were sensational. All you MMA people out there that hate me, I think that your sport has great athletes in it. I think they're great in their sport, in their element, with guys that are, that belong with them, not going into the boxing world. But when I watched those fights, I said, wow, this guy ain't a seek and destroy guy. This guy is a smart, clever, careful, calculating guy. This guy's a counterpuncher. He allowed them to rush in, took advantage of their reckless aggression, and scored a knockout. Took a half a step back from the southpaw position, bang, hit him with the left hand, the power hand with the back foot, and he knocked him dead. But he did it on a counter. He did what Floyd does, not at the level Floyd does, but he's got the same mentality. So now the reality, and they're never going to tell you this, is you got two counterpunchers in there, two guys that are thoughtful, two guys that are careful. Even though they're going to sell you, that it's going to be, World War 400, that it's going to be it's going to be nothing but volcanoes blowing up and hand grenades going off, and no, these are two thoughtful guys, two careful guys. So if it really